hard times make strong men. And that's what's happening. We have had our backs pushed up against the wall now, being called all kinds of names since 2006, 2004. Always we're, warmongers, we're this, we're that. And we've done a lot of introspection. And many of us, me included, or leading, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but we changed because we were introspective. And we were like, wait a minute, I don't know if I really believe that anymore because of this and this and this. We've become strong, but they've had good times. While we've had bad times, they've had good times. And look at the beta males they've become. They are weak, weak.
And this is, I mean, to Steve's point, here you have a guy who, a lot of people who are in our audience, frankly, and a lot of people who are out there voting for Trump in the rest of the country, still there's some bad blood, right, with DeSantis because he challenged the king. But he's still a model governor, any way you shake it. When you look at how he is governed and what he's done in that state, it's a model for everybody else. And the strength of it is real. I mean, Horowitz is saying he won both 3 and 4.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I wish Donald Trump would give him as just a temporary assignment or whatever he would be willing to take FEMA. He should take FEMA and take it apart.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
It does feel like there is a spiritual shift in the air. Right. It felt like maybe a few weeks ago it didn't feel that way. I don't know exactly what it was. I can't pinpoint the moment, but it does feel like there was a shift, and it's palpable. You can feel it in the air that finally people are waking up, because for as much as the left likes to lie, there is only so much you can get away with lying to the American people when they know what they're living through. James?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, for me, that moment was the failed assassination attempt, and how that demonstrated to, frankly, a lot of guys who aren't often associated with spirituality, guys in tech world, Silicon Valley. A lot of those guys, that was the moment for them where they stood up and said, this is something different. This is something that we've never seen before. And this is something that is going to move us to take that courageous step in what might be a scary direction. That transformed the race. This isn't 2020. This isn't 2016. If there are shenanigans, if things get weird tonight, on election night, it's not just going to be Trump and a few, kind of inner circle people trying to figure out what to do. It's going to be the full might of Elon Musk's money, of his super friends. This is going to be a fiercely fought race if anything untoward happens. And so I think that's a big part of what that spiritual shift is all about. People understand that it's not just kind of seeing a repeat or a replay of a story they've seen before, but something that really punches right to the level of life and death.
I want to speak to something that Steve said, too. So when you're talking about stigmatization, one of the most impactful days that changed how much people cared about the stigma or not was July 13th. And this is, I'm going to tell you,
I ran out and put a Trump sign in my yard.
That's
right
exactly
after that
right.
event.
And so did my husband. My husband is an ardent Trump supporter, as am I, and has been for a long time. But we live in a very blue area. And so it's not prudent always to hang a Trump sign on your house when you live in a blue neighborhood. And on that day, he bedecked our home with Trump signs. And he said something that it has stuck with me because it was very profound. He said, if we do not publicly stand with Trump now, who is standing in between a bullet meant for us, then when are we going to?
Amen.
It's strange. On that day, we were having a family reunion. And like all families, there are people that do not vote the same way. It caused a real split in the family because there were those who never said out loud, but felt good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to have a big, final night party that night. And it was my house. And I said, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, we could have just seen that man's brains all over television and the world would have changed overnight. I'm sorry, but he's also kind of a friend of mine. I don't feel like having a party tonight. And there was a sect that said, you're overreacting. The others were just, it became a God thing. It became a courage thing. It was a defining moment that I think the media just dismissed. Yeah. It was there for a while, and they just dismissed it.
But it changed people. It changed Trump, too.
Big time.
When we were talking at the very beginning of this broadcast about the religious awakening and the political red pilling that's happened to the American people, that has also happened to Donald Trump. I think that he has communicated to many people privately that that really awakened his belief in a higher power, and that the higher power has a purpose for Donald Trump here on Earth.
He told me that.
Which he has yet to complete.
Yes, he told me that. And, we were just walking in the studio, and one of the Blaze staff, I was walking in, I said, hey, how are you feeling? They said, God's not done with us. Why would he save Donald Trump? Why would that happen if he didn't have more work to do?
That's the thing I said on my show yesterday. You can have the most brilliant strategic minds in the world and unlimited resources. You cannot concoct a scenario where you successfully dodge 94 felony indictments, convictions, 2 different assassination attempts, including one that just misses you by a centimeter. You could not get your opponents to ask for a debate to expose their own candidate's senility and then nominate the dumbest option they had realistically. You could not make this. Look at something that just happened this week. So they try to sneak Kamala in through the back door on Saturday Night Live to humanize her right before the election, right? Well, they break the equal time laws. So they've got to give Trump equal time. Where does he get equal time? On Sunday Night Football, the #1 show on network television that has 5 times the audience of Saturday Night Live. You could not, the greatest risk player in the world could not make the opponent do that. To me, I don't believe that whatever forces are at work here, I just don't believe you can navigate all this stuff on a natural level. And I don't believe that story ends with Jezebel getting up there and saying, I accept the presidency of the United States. I just don't.
I have to tell you, I said this, I was speaking, I don't know where, Florida, a few days ago, last weekend. And we were talking about things, and I said, look, I actually used, I testify to you that you're going to see miracles happen. What Billy Graham said to me in 2010 was, people are just going to be told by God, stand in place. Just do what I say. No more, no less. Don't worry about it. Well, this isn't going to work. I'm too small. Don't worry about it. Just do what you're told to do. And he said, you're going to see a mosaic that everyone will know. Only the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob could have pulled this off. And I think when I was in Nashville, where Billy Graham told me that, I saw it. I saw people everywhere who said, I just drove here from Washington State. I just drove here from Kentucky. I don't know what, I have this skill. I just got in the car. I don't know what I can do and what I can help with. And all of those people that just did what they felt they were supposed to do the next right thing, all of a sudden it was a miracle. To see it in person was truly a miracle.
Yeah. I think the assassination attempt was this moment that shattered the entire, all those years of delegitimizing Trump. And I would say when people watch that, when all of us watch that, it humbled me to an incredible degree to realize we have no idea like what is going to happen or what could happen or can foresee. This man escaped death right through that with that millimeter. And then after that, what you saw was this immediate response we've been talking about. And I think you could call it spiritual. You could also just call it cultural, right? I mean, Elon Musk comes out right away and plants his flag. Yeah. Right in his yard on Twitter in front of millions of people. And what happened is something broke in the culture. So I think tonight, in a large part, is about, will we see that translate into votes? Because something has already broken when it comes to the culture of tyranny that they've put on this country for all these years, basically making it so any working professional can't talk about their political beliefs without fear of being fired. And that's the truth of it.
This could be a remarkable night. It's shaping up to be that.
And Glenn, if I could just add one more thing, just fundamentally to what we're seeing tonight. A lot of us were concerned that the last year or two, Republicans were losing all these amendments everywhere in the off-year special elections, midterm elections. I think this showed that when Republicans finally turn out in force, we will get good results. And I think the discussion going forward from tonight, if Trump does win big, is how do we capture that energy on a permanent basis for midterms, off-year, special elections, things like that.
I will tell you, I think Trump's choice of vice president was brilliant. Young, dynamic, successful, well-spoken, can handle any question from anybody. I mean, I know there's some concerns about him with Silicon Valley, but let's watch him, because I think that guy, Donald Trump, That was a legacy pick. That was, while they were saying, oh, he's going to declare himself, king, and he's never going to leave. He picked J.D. Vance.
Yep.
He picked him because he knows he has 4 years, and this guy could make that 12. And he is a normie.
He's a normie. Anecdotally, a longtime friend of mine who is, I would call a disgruntled Republican, I don't think he voted in the past couple of elections, said that he voted, and he was planning on voting for RFK, but since RFK is not on the ballot, and he lives in Wisconsin, by the way, he said he voted for Trump because of Vance.
Let me go to Hillary. Hillary, please tell me you have the clip from Joy Reid about what to expect.
I do. So, when we look back at the Harris Walz campaign, most of us remember these really awkward social media posts that they were doing, or the cackling and the laughing or dodging interview questions of substance. But Joy Reid, that's not what she remembers. We have a clip.
And so what you've seen in the last couple of weeks, if this is an audition for managing a complex organization like the United States, Kamala Harris has passed the audition flawlessly. This has been, in many ways, a perfect campaign, a brief, and she had barely any time to put it together. But just as a managerial matter, it's been brilliantly done. She's reached out to every possible constituency.
Really? Okay, so she thinks that they ran a perfect campaign, but that is not at all what our BlazeTV subscribers are saying. So we asked you, why did you decide to vote for Trump? Because so many people are voting for him for the very first time. Aaron said, I voted for Trump because America and the world deserve a chance to save freedom. Timothy, too, said, why I voted for Trump, Abraham Accords, and I had more money when he was in office. Didn't we all? And then Andrew C. said, I voted for Trump also because of the entertainment value. He's just funny. And you know what? This isn't some manufactured thing. He didn't become funny when he decided to run for president like Kamala Harris has tried to do. I looked back at a tweet he did back in 2014, 10 years ago, and he said, I hope we never find life on another planet, because if we do, there's no doubt the United States will start sending them money.
Right. Yeah, I have to tell you, if you didn't enjoy his first term and have a lot of laughs, you missed a really good time.
Oh, yeah, you need to enjoy your life more.
Right, and I think this time enough Americans can see him and go, this guy's actually very funny.
I keep posing the question on my show, is this going to be the final nail in the coffin for DEI at government levels, right? Because Kamala was the ultimate DEI hire, wasn't she? I mean, she really hadn't accomplished much. No offense, but not a lot going on up there, always word salads. And so you look at all of these DEI hires within the Biden regime, and you look at the Rachel Levine, and you look at Karine Jean-Pierre, and you look at Kamala Harris, and you look at
Brinton, too.
Sam Brinton. Yeah, thank you. And you look at all of these DEI hires that it's just gone disastrously for them to have Kamala to stage a coup to put their DEI, their ultimate DEI hire, up on the platform and have this end not well for them. Can we finally just say, you know what, maybe DEI was not a great idea, Warren?
Well, we can't, and the reason is that it's literally illegal. Most conservatives don't understand even what disparate impact says in the United States civil rights law right now. It says that any difference between any groups and their outcomes has to be basically based on the system. That has to be the default assumption. And when you have that written into law, it's not new. It's not just part of wokeness. It's back in Griggs versus Duke Power in the 1970s, and then reified by the Republicans in the Civil Rights Act in the 1990s. And so this is going to continue to be on the docket. Now, we may see this be dialed back when it comes to prioritizing it, pushing to the front for a little while in certain candidates, but it's going to be ingrained in law, and it will continue to reflect itself in all of our organizations and all of our government apparatus.
NBC exit poll, 33-point swing from 2020 towards Trump with Hispanic men.
That's monstrous.
That is the stuff of decisive to landslide paradigm shifts. From a 23-point Biden win with that group in 2020, they have Trump winning Hispanic men by 10 points, NBC exit poll does. Wow. 33-point swing.
I think the Democrats have...
What I think you're seeing here is, I think that you are seeing in minority communities, the men have had enough of Yas Queen culture. And we had Jason Whitlock on earlier, and this is a focal point. You know, he even used the terms matriarchy and patriarchy when he was talking. This has been a big part of his concern, just the complete eradication of men as respected figures in minority communities. And I think that putting up there, frankly, a woman who's just a complete and total nitwit with a double-digit IQ. Okay, and this afternoon pretended to call a voter, and it was her camera. Unless the voter's name was Camera, okay, it was her camera and not a voter. Okay, and you've got a woman up there who the only claim to fame she has is she did a song talking about her moist genitalia, reading off a phone her endorsement to a crowd. Okay, and I
just want to interpret that for everyone that he's talking about Cardi B.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I think we have reached. I think minority men in this election have reached the breaking point. They've had enough, and we are witnessing Trump as the fulcrum here, as the inflection point for a mass minority men pushback to Yas Queen culture.
I think we are seeing the same kind of switch that we saw in the 1960s, where it was the Republicans who were the civil rights leaders, really, and then by 1964, it was completely upside down. And somehow or another, that great con happened. I think it's righting itself for the first time since that time.
Do you know what else is at play here? And I think that this is one of the most insulting things that Democrats do, is they conflate all people of Latino descent with illegal aliens.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Legal people of Hispanic descent, whether they're citizens or legal permanent residents, they are some of the people who feel the strongest against illegal immigration. They're also victimized at a very high rate by illegal aliens.
Exactly.
They don't think it's fair. They don't think it's safe. They don't want that to be happening in our country. And the Democrats constantly act like if you are a Latino, that you must be for open borders. And I find that it's almost humorous because it's so insulting.
And is this going to make them rethink their open border strategy? This idea that they had of the black and brown of the world, like joining this multicultural coalition for Democrats. If Latinos aren't going their way, will they rethink that?
Let me go to stage 2. We have some updates there.
Hey,
Sarah.
Glenn. Hey, Glenn. So a couple interesting notes here. The Election Day vote in a Dearborn, Michigan precinct has, surprisingly, check this out, 332 Trump votes, 293 Jill Stein votes, and 81 Kamala Harris votes. So apparently this sector coalesced and decided that they were going to throw their protest vote towards Jill Stein rather than voting for Kamala Harris.
Give me those numbers again.
Yes, so it's a Dearborn precinct.
Yeah.
332 Trump, followed by 293 Jill Stein, and at the end of that, 81 for Kamala Harris.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then you have, of course, the New York Times, which I can imagine how much they were crying when they continue to keep having to update this. But they now have Donald Trump at an 89% chance of winning and 301 electoral votes. So, again, it's the New York Times, as Matt said earlier. Take it for what it's worth. But you have to imagine that it pains them to put that up there. And not only that, we were just discussing this on our panel. We don't remember a time in 2020 that they were so quick to update that Donald Trump had that type of a chance. We were going back and forth about it. Auron, am I misremembering this? Because I have a little bit of a PTSD from 2020, but I don't remember the New York Times coming out and saying, yep, Donald Trump's going to win.
Yeah, we're all very hesitant. In this moment, everyone remembers going to bed thinking Donald Trump had the momentum. He had the win. We're all holding back. Nobody wants to say,
dude, I'm nonstop coffee because I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I remember what happened last time I went to sleep.
Yeah, but I really do not remember the libs being this scared. I'm starting to bookmark my favorite meltdowns. I don't want to catch to count all my chickens, but I think we're going to get some gold here. We're already seeing a lot of depression, a lot of despair. Politicos and others kind of spinning out, and so it's not time to mine the salt yet, but we're getting there.
Let me address the one thing that I frankly am so happy, but also shocked that this is the best they could do. They had $1 billion. $1 $1 billion that we know of.
Yeah.
Okay. We know that a lot of the stuff on the abortion amendments, that was foreign money. Okay. That wasn't going to Biden Harris. The amount of money that was in this, and this is it.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. The press, you can only play it for so long. The money only goes so far.
Celebrity? I don't
Celebrity?
think I know that Democrats always get celebrity supporters, but I don't think I've seen Beyonce come out in favor of a politician the way that she did in Texas for Kamala Harris. Paid $10 million to give that speech. And then we've got Taylor Swift.
Wait, what?
I think. Did I just make that up?
No, I had read the same thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Paid her $10 million?
I don't know if it's true, but I read the same
I know. Gosh, I could be spreading propaganda right now.
No,
I'm pretty
I
sure
wasn't
that's
questioning.
true.
I was just shocked because I thought she was doing it because she was
out of
liberal.
the goodness of her heart. No, I'm pretty
Is that how celebrity
She
endorsements
was
typically
paid
work?
tens of millions of dollars or $10 million.
That
But
cannot
fact check
be.
that. You can
Yeah,
fact check
that
that in the
cannot
control room, please. Anyway, she still came out in favor of her. That obviously didn't do anything in the state of Texas. Taylor Swift, with all of her influence, came out in favor of them. Didn't work.
I talked about this morning. There is a difference. When you are talking about Joe Rogan, when you're talking about you, Allie, or any of us, when you're doing a podcast and it revolves around you, who you are, your opinions, people can sense when you're a fake and when you're not. After a while, they know who you are.
Especially when it's a long form conversation.
Right. And what happens over the years, it's why I don't know how your folks that listen to you and watch you react to you, but I imagine it's much the same with me. They come up and they'll give me a hug. We've never met before. They'll give me a hug. They will always say, wow, you're much taller than I thought. But then they always follow that with, I feel like I know you. I feel like we're family.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen with celebrity.
It's so true.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when the best advertising is a friend telling you.
Yeah.
We and Joe Rogan and all of these other podcasters, the audience sees them as friends.
Yes.
And so that's what makes an impact.
Right.
I might like, Beyonce and say, I love her music and everything else, but I don't think she's my friend.
Well, it's the
She's
same
a celebrity.
thing with Joy Reid or any of these people in the mainstream media. I think a lot of those people, they believe if their shows are doing well or their networks are doing well, that everyone loves them. And sometimes that's true. That's true with you.
Correct.
That's true with Tucker. It's true with Megyn. It's not true with everyone.
No.
Sometimes they leave those networks and they realized, people were just watching me because I was on.
Exactly
they didn't really
right.
love me.
Exactly
And they didn't really care
right.
what I had to say.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm super careful about this.
4,
Usually
5, 6,
there is
7.
not actually evidence that Beyonce was paid $10 million. I
Okay.
don't know if it was false, but I can't find a good citation for that. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for spreading.
Wow,
This is why people love podcasting.
Hang on. You guys are talking about a couple of things, and I'd just like to get your reaction to two different things. First of all, the New York Times, you were talking about, and we're like this in here, too. You want to believe them, but you don't want to believe them because what the hell are they doing? What's the game they're playing here? However, I wonder, I'd love to hear your opinions on, are they just doing what Bezos is doing? Are they seeing the writing on the wall? I mean, I don't think that there is any self-reflection at the New York Times or in the left media. They will always blame it on something. But is this a moment of crap, we're in trouble, let's lead the way and start calling things for Donald Trump just to try to, I don't know, appease either the people who have abandoned them or just Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think that there is an element of desperation there, right? That they want to just cling to any sort of credibility that they think that they may have left. They're seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing, as you mentioned, not just Jeff Bezos, but you have, the LA Times, you have USA Today, you have all of these unprecedented non-endorsements where they would typically endorse a Democrat. So I think it's definitely, an element of we don't want to be the last ones. We don't want to be wrong. And by the way, as we're talking, the New York Times just upped the Trump chance of winning to 91%. So we are now in the 90s.
Okay. So let me ask Auron, because you were just talking a few minutes ago, and a couple of things came to mind. I think we're looking at a replay of 1920, where Woodrow Wilson had scared everybody to death. They saw what this was turning into, and the Americans were like, okay. And that's why progressivism became liberalism, because the Americans saw it. And then FDR came in 10 years later. Coolidge with Harding came in, cut taxes. I mean, it created the Roaring '20s. But then they just switched masks again and came in, and it was a huge boom for progressivism. So I hope that the Republicans or this new coalition is aware that there's a lot of work to be done to make sure that this is the beginning of the death of that ideology, no matter what you call it.
No, that's exactly right. A lot of people have celebrated the end of DEI departments across corporate America in different areas. But as you well know, in many cases, this is simply a rebranding of the same ideology. And while I'm very glad to see a lot of former Democrats, including guys like Donald Trump and RFK and Elon Musk coming on board, they come with certain priors. And it's going to be the responsibility of the conservative movement to actually hold these people to account and say, we appreciate you coming along. We appreciate you championing these things. But ultimately, we need to have those values moving forward if we're going to change anything.
Thank you so much.